Hey friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Taylor Benterud, and this channel is dedicated to helping you start and scale an agency into the multi-seven figures. I personally have an agency that does over $160,000 per month, and I started when I was 19 years old. So this video is really dedicated to helping you understand the three major phases of evolution that you're gonna go through as you scale your agency from zero to ideally over $200,000 per month in revenue. Let's start with phase one, 0 to 25K per month in revenue. Here we have service market fit. This is pre-revenue. You have no revenue. This is the first thing you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be identifying, number one, the service that you're going to be offering, and number two, the market that you're gonna be offering that service to, and trying to make sure that there's a fit between these two things. If you've heard of product market fit, this is the exact same thing, except we're changing the word product with the word service. Now the service is the what. It's what are you going to be doing? As an example, let's say that I'm an expert in conversion rate optimization. That is what I do. I offer CRO as a service. Now the market is the who. As an example, I offer CRO as a service to B2B SaaS companies. That could be an example of the what or the who that I'm offering this service to, right? Now, I've talked about this before in videos, and if you want help understanding some of what I think the top 7 services that you could offer are, you can check out the video I did, which is called Top 7 SMMA Niches in 2022. That video, I'll put a thumbnail here somewhere on the screen that you can check out and link it in the description below if you want to check that out. So the second thing you're going to be focusing a lot of your time and energy on, once you've identified a service that you're going to offer and a market that you're going to offer it to, is marketing. This is when you're going after your first few clients, otherwise known as client acquisition. This is by far the next most important thing that you're going to be putting your time and energy into when you're going from 0 to $25,000 per month. So Trojan horse marketing, in my opinion, which is an outbound marketing method you can use for client acquisition, is one of the best starting client acquisition methods that you could use to be able to get up to that $25,000 per month range. It's an outbound strategy. I've talked about it in depth. It's literally like a 2-hour-long video on how to use this strategy. There'll be a link to the video. I'll show you the thumbnail here on the screen somewhere, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to learn more about that strategy. So outbound marketing is going to be mostly your focus. You could do inbound, but we'll leave that for another video. I recommend most people start with outbound because it's a way to rapidly get feedback from the market, whereas inbound marketing, it takes a little bit more time to produce content and get traction, whereas outbound, you can immediately start firing messages off to your ideal client profiles, right? So number 3 is iteration. Okay, now you've got your service market fit, now you got your marketing, let's say your outbound marketing campaign running. What is going to happen next? Well, you're actually going to be receiving feedback from the market. So now you're going to be iterating either 1, your service market fit, or 2, your outbound marketing strategy or just marketing strategy that you're using in general. So let me give you a basic example of how this would work. Again, I'm offering CRO service as a service to B2B SaaS companies, and let's just say it's that broad. That's pretty broad, but let's just say that's what it is. And let's say that I launch a Trojan horse marketing outbound campaign, and the first thing I do is I craft a good script, a good email for, cold outbound email or a LinkedIn message, and I contact 200 unique ideal client profiles, meaning I contact 200 people that fit, the market that I want to go after, B2B SaaS, fantastic. Now from there, I'm going to get feedback. Did I get any discovery calls? Did I get any deals closed out of those discovery calls? Was there interest in the market? Was there any responses in the emails? This is where you're getting all the feedback from the market, right? And one of two things is going to happen here. Either yes, you have a decent response rate from the initial seed test, this is a really small test. It's like a micro test. 200, contacting 200 companies is very small. You can do this in literally a week. Very small test, but if it's a positive response, let's say you get a 2% call booking rate, which is a pretty standard and decent call booking rate for a strategy like Trojan horse marketing, amazing. You're going to get 4 phone calls, right? Out of those 4 phone calls, was there interest in the prospects? You really want to record these calls and take notes and really listen closely and pay attention to what the prospects are telling you on this discovery call that you're doing with them, so that you can better understand if you have what could be potentially service market fit. And if you get those 4 discovery calls, ideally you can maybe close one of them, but if not, I would just keep doing what you're doing and send another 200 messages out, whether that's through LinkedIn or cold email or phone calls, cold calls, whatever it is. Again, the medium of how you're communicating with the prospect doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is that you're reaching out to them in a way that's unique relative to how other people are going to be reaching out to them. So that's one scenario. The other scenario, which is iterate your service market fit, would be if you got 0 calls booked, if you got terrible response rates, nobody even responded to your emails. This is something where I would say that you might have to iterate the service that you're offering or the market that you're offering your service to. Again, it's kind of like two puzzle pieces, and you want to kind of like change them and interchange them until you find the ones that match. And to be able to understand if they match, you have to have some type of marketing going on to be able to get feedback from the market to know if it is service market fit. You can't guess. You have to actually go to the market and say, here's my service. Will you pay for this? And unless they're willing to pay for it, again, or at least work with you and pay for it if there's results, then we don't know if there's service market fit. So again, the second scenario could be, like I said, where you get a terrible response rate, nobody books a call, nobody even responds to your emails or your outbound campaign. In this case, we should probably look at iterating the service or the market. So that is $0 to $25,000 per month. Now, if everything goes well and you scale up to $25,000 per month, which again, this is what I was able to achieve in about a year and a half of running my agency. I was 19 years old. I started it. We got to $10,000 a month in 90 days. It was very quick. And I think we hit about 25, maybe a year later after that. So about a year and a half. What's going to happen is you want to hit 80% ITB, 20% OTB. So there's this little star here on the screen which says hit 80%. The stars, by the way, represent the primary objective of each stage in the cycle here of going from 0 to $150,000, $200,000 plus per month. And ITB is something that stands for in the business. OTB stands for on the business. It's a simple concept. When you're working on the business, you're growing the business. When you're working in the business, you're maintaining the business. So maintenance of the business would be like servicing your clients, right? Doing your books, making sure that your accounting is done and that you're getting paid, stuff like this. Working on the business is like improving your system, going out and doing sales, signing new clients, right? Growing the actual business. So what you want to do is get to 80% ITB, where typically this occurs around $20,000, $25,000 per month. It depends on the agency, but you should strive to be able to scale to $25,000 per month and still have about 20% of your time left over to be working on the business. What you don't want to do in the initial stage, and this will hurt you tremendously, is push yourself to maximum capacity, meaning you have no time to work on the business and you're 100% in the business. This is a very detrimental cycle that a lot of agency owners fall into, because what happens then is typically, number one, burnout, or number two, you simply just don't have time to be able to hire people and take your agency from $25,000 to $100,000 per month because you're maxed out. And because you're maxed out, again, you don't have the time to work on the business. So right around 80%, capacity, right? When you're close to 100%, you got about 20% less of your time. That's when you want to stop growing, stop signing more clients. You got to hire somebody. And now we're going to transition into the $25,000 to $100,000 per month range. Okay, so hit that 80% ITV mark. Let's transition into talking about $25K per month to $100K per month and how you can achieve that level of scale. So the first thing is establishing culture. At this stage, in my opinion, it's very important to establish your culture. What is culture? It is truly just the vibe of your company. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can describe it. There's the mission, there's the vision, there's the core values. I like to say we kind of took a different approach. It's similar but different. BetterAMS, which is our agency, has a culture canvas. This is what it looks like. And this culture canvas really is kind of a one-pager that summarizes what the culture is like inside of BetterAMS. We have a much more in-depth document that goes over it, kind of like a vivid vision that we're working on building out. But this is a nice one-pager that gives everybody a consensus on, what is the vibe like inside of BetterAMS? What do we really care about? What's our Polaris star? What are we trying to achieve? If you want to get access to that, by the way, there'll be a link to get access to this document in the description below, just so you can reference it as you build out your own culture canvas when the time comes. And so establishing your culture is really important at this stage, primarily just because you don't want to go and hire a bunch of people and not know what the culture is going to be like, because then there's going to be, a terrible culture, which you're not going to like, and then you're not going to like your agency because you don't like the people that you hired, and the people that you hired, you know, were attracted to you because, well, you know, you established the culture and you've defined the prerequisites for what it is to be working with you. And so establishing culture is really important at this phase. Again, it doesn't really matter from $0 to $25,000 per month because it's typically just you working in the agency at that point. And so there is no real like culture because it's just you. And when it's just you, like there's nobody else that can dictate what the culture is like, right? So establish your culture, and then once that's done, you want to go and hire that account manager that we were talking about. Once you've hit the 80% in the business and you're close to $25,000 per month, or wherever you're at, but you have 80% of your time working in the business, 20% of your time working on the business. The first person that you want to hire, a simple way to look at it is you should hire where it hurts. Okay, where are you spending the bulk of your time? Now, typically, this is client management, okay? Talking to clients, servicing clients. And so what I recommend to most agency owners when they need to hire their first person because they're personally maxed out, right? You're going from like that freelancer, solopreneur, consultant to the beginning of what is becoming an agency, right? Because you're about to hire your first person who's actually going to service the clients. That's typically the first person I recommend. If for whatever reason that's not the big pain point for you, hire accordingly to wherever the big pain point is. Big pain point meaning the thing that's taking up the most of your time, which is ITB related. Okay. Now, I have a couple different things that can help you with this. How to write a job description that attracts A+ talent. This is a video that I did, which you'll see somewhere on the screen, and which we'll link in the description below, that'll help you write a really good job description to be able to attract, A+ talent. And this is so important when it's your first hire because this will make or break your ability to scale to $100,000 per month. The first person that we hired in our agency when I was going from this stage from 25 to 100 was not a good hire. We let go of them shortly after. It really slowed us down. The second person that we hired after the first person, which was a fail, was one of the best hires we've ever made. She's now the CEO of BetterAMS. She's a large stakeholder in the company as well, and it's just made a massive difference. So don't skip this. It's really important. And the second thing is find a partner. So that first person that you hire, in my opinion, should be someone that has the potential to become a business partner. So this is somebody who basically has, again, your potential, but is different than you. And I've talked a lot about this in previous videos, but something that you want to look at is, number one, are you a visionary or are you an integrator? There's an assessment you can take called a crystallizer assessment by Gino Wickman. He's the guy who wrote Traction, a fantastic book. And this is something that will be able to tell you if A, you're a visionary, or B, you're an integrator. And if you're a visionary, you want to ideally make that first person that you're hiring the opposite of you, and vice versa. So this is really important because, again, when you're making that first hire, it's really crucial. It's going to be dictating your ability to scale from 25 to 100. This is not, again, I want to put emphasis on this. This is not a company where you can scale to $100 million a year with a 25, 50 person team. Agencies are so people-oriented companies, and so you really need to have the best people to be able to scale as quickly as possible. And if you don't have that, it's going to be an absolute uphill battle, and it's going to be extremely painful. Okay. Build up a war chest. Number 3, stacking runway. Super important. We're talking about just stacking cash. At this stage, it's really important that you try to maintain high margins and stack cash. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to maintain low margins and go absolute growth mode and scale, that's fine. But in my opinion, you should stack up some good cash and be able to build a decent runway. We've talked about runway in previous videos on the channel. I'm not going to go in depth on it. I'm just saying at high level, it's really important that you start stacking cash at this point. Something I see some founders do at this stage is they just pay themselves out all the profits of the agency. So they're just draining the profits of the agency and paying it to themselves. In my opinion, this is a terrible mistake because you're not setting yourself up for the position where you can make a hire and have the mental peace and clarity that you need, or not clarity, but the mental peace that you need to be able to know that, okay, we're going to make this hire, and I'm not nervous to make this hire because I have $100,000 in the bank, because I've been saving this whole time, and now I'm ready to be able to take this thing to the next level. So this is something I wish I did better in the early stages, and I could have done way better. So building up a war chest. Now, number 4, balancing ITB and OTB. We talked about ITB and OTB previously. It's super important that, again, that you avoid the ITB trap, which is pushing yourself into 100% ITB. This is the last thing you want to do in this stage. Otherwise, it'll be really detrimental. If you did do that, you could probably have a really high profit margin percentage because, again, if you, the founder, are maxing yourself out, great. I mean, you can bring in a lot of revenue, but you'll be unable to grow, beyond wherever you're at because you have no time to work on the business. So avoid that trap. The second thing is, if you have a good runway and your company is scaling decently, you should hire proactively. The first hire, it's not much of a proactive hire because 1, you don't really have cash in the bank, and 2, it's very easy to scale very quickly when you're going from like 0 to 25. And so it's a little bit more of a reactive hire because it's difficult to proactively hire your first hire, especially when you don't have much cash in the bank. But after your first hire, and if you're stacking cash, you should be able to, ideally in your second or third hire, make a proactive hire so that it's not such a scramble when you hire somebody, right? Because typically what happens in an agency is there's this crazy start-stop where you scale up to $25,000 per month and then, oh my God, I'm maximum capacity. I can't do anything. You have to shut down all client acquisition, and then you have to go and hire somebody, train them. This takes 1-2 months, and then you can start client acquisition again. And then you scale up to like 50K a month, and then, oh my God, we're all maxed out. We need to scramble. It's chaos. It's hell. Systems are breaking. Everything's failing. Clients aren't happy. We need to improve everything. And this is just like this constant, giant wave. And you want to ideally hire proactively so that you don't have to experience that kind of chaos. It's hard to do, especially in the 25 to 100K a month range. I think you need to be quite talented and aware of everything going on, but it is possible. And number 5 is scaling marketing, right? So this is a huge thing because, again, now that you've kind of established a little bit of service market fit, you know that there's a market for your services because people are paying you. You've gotten up to $25,000 a month. That's a significant number. We're doing $300,000 a year at this point, right? That's our run rate at $25,000 a month. Okay, great. So there's some service market fit here. How much of the service market fit is there though? Like, how far can we push this thing? So once you've kind of established the culture, you've got a decent system in place for hiring. You've hired your first person or maybe second person, whatever it is, and you've got a little bit of cash coming in the bank. You're stacking cash. Cool. You now want to 100x your marketing. So whatever you were doing before, remember we were talking about earlier, sending out 200, cold outbound emails or cold outreach sequences to 200, unique ideal client profiles. Well, how many can you send? So if you're sending out 25 a day, 5 days a week, fantastic. You're sending out basically 125, if I'm doing my math correctly, outreaches a week. But how far can you take it? What's the limit, right? Can you truly send 500 outreaches a day? Can you get it to that level? Can you get it to 1,000? Can you go from 25 to 250? Can you 10x it? Can you 100x it? Like, how far can you take it? And so with the time that you have working on the business, it should be, once you've established a culture and you've got decent systems in place for hiring and you're doing a good job of balancing ITB, OTB, spending your time on scaling that marketing system that you have and trying to 10 to 100x it and just take it to the utmost level, right? Because this is the most important, typically biggest bottleneck at this point is client acquisition from 25 to 100K per month. Now, your primary objective, super important for this stage, is your ability to be 90% OTB. Now, that's not realistic in the beginning, so I want to make this very clear. When you're at $25,000 per month and you make that first hire, again, you're going to be 20% of your time able to work on the business, right? Because you're just about to make that first hire. But as you scale from 25 to 100K per month in revenue, you want to be able to take your time from 20% OTB to 90% OTB. So I still think that you should maintain a client. This is one of the mistakes that I made. I didn't maintain a client, so I lost touch with the service, which impacted me and kind of hurt me in different ways. And you want to at least have 10% of your time working in the business, in the trenches, servicing clients, talking to clients, or maybe it's probably just one client. So your goal at 100K per month is for you to be able to be at a level where you can now spend 90% of your time working on the business. That's huge. Very legendary goal. And the way that you're going to be able to do that is by focusing on 2 things. Number 1, marketing, and number 2, hiring. This is really the big thing. Signing more clients, hiring talented people to service those clients. And as you scale, you can gradually spend more and more of your time working OTB. Now, let's talk about the final, pillar here, which is 100K to 200K in MRR, which is a legendary stage. It's the stage that we're currently in right now with our agency. We're at last month's revenue was around $160,000 per month. And let me tell you about the things that I think is kind of the most important things as we go up to that level of 200,000. So first, establishing leadership. This is something that we kind of did a little bit earlier, but typically I think it will occur as you scale up to $100,000 per month. What does this mean? Leadership is basically the executives in the company. So CEO, COO, CMO, CFO, you know, these typical titles that you're probably familiar with make up the leadership of a company. But typically your agency is quite small at this stage. And so, you know, it's unlikely that you're going to have this massive leadership team of 12 people. It's probably going to be maybe 2 or 3 people at this stage. But that's fine. 2 or 3 is fantastic. You need to start thinking about having somebody who's going to be the dedicated CEO. Are they aligned with that role? And who's going to be the dedicated COO? So with our agency, BetterAMS, you know, I was the CEO for a long time until maybe around $100,000 per month when we realized I definitely shouldn't have this title. I'm not doing anything that is related to what a CEO would be doing. So Destiny is the person who needs to have this role because her role or her title, she needs to have this title because her role is more aligned with the things that a CEO would be doing. And then I had the role of COO because I was mainly building systems and doing things related to systems building and processes building and yada, yada, yada. But I realized that really wasn't my role. Over time, I realized actually that's not my role. Alex is doing all of those things. He should definitely be the person who's the COO. And so his role became COO. My role now is more so just like founder because I hop into a lot of different things and do my best to just integrate and get them done as soon as possible while balancing other things. So again, establishing your leadership is really important because now we have, looking at our company, we have somebody who's the COO who's managing the people and the day-to-day systems, and super important. He's kind of like the glue of the machine and the operation. And then we have the CEO who's like leading and giving direction, kind of like breaking the ice and seeing the vision for the company in the next 5-10 years. And then there's me, who doesn't really have a title other than founder, which is somebody who's coming in and integrating and trying to build systems and build things into place, depending on what the needs are, which are set by the CEO. Leadership is so important. Refining your culture is also huge. So define the culture again, because if you defined it at this stage of $25,000 or $50,000 per month, you know, it's going to change so much. When you go from 25 to 100, your culture's radically changed because you've probably hired 3, 4, 5, 6 more people. And the more people you hire, the more realizations that will occur as to the type of culture that you want to develop. Very important. Number 3, systems and structure. This is pretty obvious. Most people probably expected this, and it wasn't in 25 to 100K per month, but it definitely is in 100 to 200. Company wiki, you know, organizing all information about the company, comms flow. How does communication happen in the company? Trying to define that and get that clear, because alignment is a huge issue that we've battled with, and I think a lot of agencies and different companies battle with, which is making sure everybody's aligned, they're in the right seat, they're rowing in the same direction. You know, it's the whole concept by Jen Collins of right people in the right seats on the right bus, and we can do something great. That is really what I mean by comms flow. SOPs, you know, this kind of goes into systems and the company wiki that'll be somewhere in there, and then training, which is basically your ability to train talent. Is really important. Hiring should be in here, but systems and structure is pretty much everything, right? Just really dialing your systems in on all the various different sectors of your agency, which is marketing, sales, operations, human resources, and finance, and really dialing in those 5, you know, sectors of your agency and making sure that systems are documented and things are organized and kept up to date. This is something we're battling with right now, and I think a lot of companies will constantly be battling with, but it becomes very important in this stage. There's probably a lot of other things we could talk about, which is different service offerings, you know, and marketing and different things. But these are the core things from 100 to 200 that comes to my mind that will, in my opinion, move the needle the most. So a recap, some resources that we talked about in this video. Number 1, we talked about a video that could help you identify services that you could offer, which I did, called the top 7 SMMA niches in 2022. There'll be a link to that in the description below. Then there is the Trojan Horse marketing video, which is a great outbound marketing strategy that you can use for client acquisition and signing your your first clients. It can even be a system that can help you scale from $25,000 to $100,000 a month, or even $100,000 to $200,000 a month. The potential of that system is infinite, considering you can scale it to whatever level that you want. And then the third thing is, if you wanted to see our agency culture canvas for BetterAMS, for our agency, to help you as you establish and design your culture, there'll be a link to that resource again in the description of this video below. So much love, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the subscribe button if you have not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. Hey friend, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to watch another one that's extremely valuable, I just selected it for you, and you can check it out by clicking it right there on the other side of the screen across from my face. All right, friend, enjoy. Thanks for watching the channel.